Hi, I'm here with the Eken Alfawise V50 Pro, an all-new camera available from gearbest.com. What I want to do today was a quick run through the specifications and also to give you a good idea of the audio and visual quality. Obviously, the best way to do that is to film on camera, which I'm doing right now. So all the visuals and audios that you hear are all recorded on the Eken Alfawise V50 Pro. So, just so that you know, it's being recorded at 4K 30 frames per second, and I'm utilising the skeleton cage that comes with the camera, along with the little mini tripod that I'm using to hold the camera. So sorry if there's a little bit of shake. Now the camera does arrive with a waterproof housing, and that's waterproof to 30 meters, and it comes with a bunch of accessories as well, as most entry-level cameras do. So for anyone just starting out, it's a great solution. So on to the specifications. Well, we've got 4K at 30 frames per second that we're using to record this video. We've got 1080p at 60 frames per second and 720p at up to 120 frames per second. Great for a bit of slow motion. Now that's all made possible by the combination of the image processor and sensor. And the processor is an Umbrella A12, and that's coupled with a Sony IMX sensor. So that's a pretty good combination, which I hope will give good visual and audio quality. Now fronting that combination is a lens with a 170-degree field of view. And flip it over onto the back and we've got a really nice LCD screen. Obviously, being an action camera, you can't always see that screen. So alongside that, we've also got Wi-Fi connection, and that couples in with the app that I'm using right now to record this. I can also see exactly what the composition is. So that's really it on the specifications. It's got the usual sort of features of time-lapse, burst, photo, and all the other gubbins that action cameras tend to be bundled with. But really it's down to the performance. Is it actually any good as an action camera? Well, I've been using the Eken Alfawise now for well over a month, and I have to say I've been really impressed with the quality. First up, the build quality. It is entry level, but it's a level up from what you'd usually expect. So all the plastic is really good and solid. Waterproof housing and the skeleton cage I'm using at the moment, again, are really good quality. Now in use, if you're using it without the app, you do have to utilize the buttons that are placed all around the body. Got the mode button on the front, which powers on and switches through the modes from shooting to photo, etc. On top, you've got the shutter button. So all pretty straightforward. You can of course use the app to navigate around, and that makes life a whole lot easier. Having the LCD screen on the back is really good, and despite this being an entry-level model, the viewing angle of that is really good. So it doesn't matter how your angle or what angle you're viewing it from, you should always be able to see what's going on. Now, visual quality I found was really good. Quickly cover audio quality, and as ever, as soon as it's placed inside one of these housings or mounts, we do have some sort of muffling that goes on, but to be honest, it's not too bad. So this has a skeleton housing on at the moment, and as you can hear, the audio is still pretty good. Now visual, this is where this camera really stands out, and the visual quality across the board is pretty good. That small lens with a 170-degree field of view gives that really good fisheye distortion, which is great if you're doing action and adventure sports. So I used this quite extensively for mountain biking, and the waterproof housing kept the camera really nice and safe. Using the camera mainly at 1080p, which I find is usually the best resolution for filming action sports, and at 60 frames per second, I was really impressed with the smoothness of motion, and there was plenty of detail in the surroundings. One thing I really liked that you normally find on the entry-level action camera is lots of pixelation when the action starts to pick up. But here I found the Eken Alfawise managed to handle that really quite well. So although there was some pixelation, it was really well handled. Now looking at the detail across the frame, and generally it was really good. Plenty of tone and detail across the frame, and although there's a really wide angled lens, there was only a limited amount of sharpness fall off towards the edges and vignetting. In fact, very little vignetting across the frame at all. The other problem that you often see with action cameras is chromatic aberration up in the corners and along the high contrast edges, and again the Eken Alfawise's lens managed to hold that back really well, and actually overall really impressed with the visual quality. Now here I'm obviously filming inside and everything looks fine and dandy, but outside in bright sunlit conditions I did find that skin became a little bit over warm, so it's a real sort of orange tinge to the skin tones. But as soon as you've got a little bit of cloud cover or you're filming sort of in shade, then that instantly disappeared. And generally the dynamic range looked pretty good. There were slight limitations compared with the likes of the GoPro, but for an entry level it was more than adequate. Now the Eken Alfawise is available from GearBest for around £60, which for what you get is a really good value product. That's just a very quick overview of the Eken Alfawise. Hopefully you get a good idea of the visual quality from this video. But if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments box below. Obviously travel on over to camerajabber.com for the full review, and obviously pop along to gearbest.com if you want to pick up an Eken Alfawise V50 for yourself.